Alright, so let's talk about some of the most common methods by which hackers attack WordPress websites. Since you have a WordPress website, it is important that you know what these attacks are, how they're performed, and most importantly, how to prevent them from happening. So the first attack is called the brute force attack. In a brute force attack, what happens is after the hacker has gotten hold of one of the usernames associated with your WordPress website, let's say for example the admin account, okay, let's assume you have an account for an administrator. What the hacker is going to do is that he'll simply go to your login page, type admin as the username, and then for the password he will use a program that will try a combination of different letters and figures and try to see if that combination would work with the admin username. So say for example, the program could try 1 2 3 4 5 6. Try that with the username of admin. Not successful. It could try 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Not successful. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Not successful. It could try that pattern and then switch things up. It could try A B C D E F G. Not successful. A B C D E F G H, and so on and so forth. It could then begin trying A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, and so on and so forth. There are programs that combine letters and figures and try to use the combination to access the backend of WordPress site. Now, obviously, yeah, there are like uncountable combinations of letters and figures that you can literally reach trillions of combinations using letters and figures. But one thing you need to remember is that these programs which these hackers use can try combinations of maybe even 1,000 per second. Okay, so it is very important that you use a very strong password. Do not use passwords like password, for example. Please do not let your password be password. Do not use admin as your password. Do not use 1 2 3 4 5 6 or A B C D E F G. Do not use words like that. Okay, don't use, not exactly words, but don't use passwords like that. Okay. Also, for the love of God, do not use swordfish as your password, okay? I know you love the movie Swordfish by Hugh Jackman and John Travolta and Halle Berry, and well, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's a good movie. But anyway, if you're used to using Swordfish as your password, please stop, okay? Swordfish is one of the most common passwords used by people, and trust me, hackers know that information. So do not use Swordfish. Use a strong password. And what do I mean by a strong password? What exactly constitutes a strong password? So you want to have at least 8 characters for your password. Make sure you have letters and numbers, okay? Make sure one of your letters, or at least one of your letters, is a capital letter, while the rest could be lowercase, the rest could be small letters. And then try having a symbol in your password. So you could use the hashtag, you could use the @ symbol, you could use the $, any kind of symbol, okay? But make sure you have that combination as your password. Again, at least 8 characters, let there be letters and numbers, a capital letter, and at least one symbol. That way you'll have a very strong password and you would literally defeat the brute force attack method of hacking. Alright, so the second attack is called the SQL injection attack. Now what happens here is your WordPress site has a database where it stores your images, your content, your pages, your posts, your user accounts, passwords, usernames, and so on and so forth. So there has to be some sort of interaction between your website and the database associated with your website. So SQL is the language used to communicate between your website and your database. SQL stands for Standard Query Language, okay? So with SQL injection, a hacker can, in the simplest of terms, okay, he can poison the interaction between your website and your database. And if something like that happens, your website may not load, people may not be able to access certain parts of your website, people may not be able to see images on your website, and so on and so forth. It's a very common method of attacking WordPress sites, and the best prevention for this is to simply update your plugins and your themes. Make sure all your plugins are updated. If you have any plugins that you're not using, plugins that are inactive, make sure you remove them, okay? Only use plugins that only keep plugins that you're actually using, okay? Don't store plugins that you're not using, and Make sure they're all updated as well. Update your themes, and of course update WordPress as well. Whenever WordPress releases a new version of their software, update WordPress as well. So last but not least, we have the DOS attack. This stands for denial of service. Alright, so in a denial of service, what happens is your web hosts, okay, the company hosting your website has a web server dedicated to answering requests from people who want to access your website. So if someone goes to their browser engine, say Mozilla Firefox for example, and they type in www.themoviecharacters.com, presses enter, it is the responsibility of my web server to provide the contents of my website to that user. Okay. Now, web servers are typically stronger than your normal computers. Okay, a web server can actually handle up to 1,000 requests per second. It's quite possible. Okay. Now, imagine if my web server that could handle up to 1,000 requests per second all of a sudden receives 100,000 requests in 1 second. What do you think is going to happen? The server is going to get overwhelmed. It's going to be like, oh my, look at all these requests. I can't handle them. There's so many requests. Okay. So in a typical scenario like that, the web server will simply shut down. Okay. It won't be able to answer any more requests to anyone. Hence the term denial of service. So people who want to access my website will not be able to, because my web server has been overwhelmed. It's been inundated by so many requests. Okay. Now there is another kind of attack called the DDoS attack. All right. DDoS stands for distributed denial of service. It's a sort of a bigger type of DOS attack. So with a DOS attack, it's between one computer sending all those requests to a web server. But in a distributed denial of service, it's more than one computer. You could have hundreds of computers, you could have thousands, you could even have tens of thousands of computers sending requests to that particular web server in order to bring it down. So here's the thing, DOS attacks are typically for smaller websites, okay? But if you're looking at a big website, okay, a website that has thousands of visitors and so on and so forth, you would typically need a DDoS attack in order to bring its server down, okay? So is there any way how you can prevent a DDoS attack or a DOS attack? Unfortunately, no, okay? DOS attacks and DDoS attacks are server-based. These attacks are not directed at your website directly, they're directed at your web server, and unfortunately there isn't really anything that you can do about that, unfortunately. However, your web hosts, if you're using good web hosts, they should have some sort of system of mitigating or preventing DOS attacks to a certain extent, okay? And even if DOS attacks do happen, most web hosts usually have plans with which they can use to lessen the effects of a DOS attack. So again, those are the three main attacks: your brute force attack, your SQL injection attack, and your DOS attack. So the next time you hear anyone talking about a DOS attack, or hey, the White House website was DDoSed yesterday, you would know what they're talking about, and you will know how it happened as well. So whenever something like that happens, make sure you tell your friend or tell whoever is telling you that you know what they're talking about, and remember that you learned all this information from me. So thank you for watching this video. Join me in the next class where we'll begin to talk about how to use certain plugins to enhance the security of your WordPress website. So thank you for watching.